A college girl, young and full of dreams, steps out of a bar into the humid South Carolina night. It's late, 2 a.m. to be exact, and she's tired, maybe a little tipsy, but nothing out of the ordinary. She pulls out her phone, taps a few buttons, and orders a ride home. Simple, right? Something we've all done 100 times. Call an Uber, hop in, get home safe. Except this time, she didn't. This time, she climbed into the wrong car, and what happened next would shake an entire community to its core. Her name was Samantha Josephson, and by the time the sun rose, she'd be dead, stabbed over 120 times, her blood soaking the seats of a stranger's Chevy. How does a night so normal turn into a nightmare so brutal? That's what we're here to unravel. This isn't just another crime story. It's a mystery that starts with a single, chilling question. Who was waiting for her in that black Chevrolet? And why? The answers will take us deep into the heart of Columbia, South Carolina, a city with a proud history stretching back to 1786, when it became the state's capital. It's a place that survived the Civil War's flames and rose again as a bustling hub of railroads and trade. By 2019, it was home to the University of South Carolina, a sprawling campus where Samantha was just 2 months shy of graduating. But that night, March 28, 2019, Columbia's streets hit a predator, and Samantha, bright-eyed and ambitious, walked right into his trap. I'm not here to bore you with dry facts or dusty history lessons. No, we're diving straight into the thick of it, because this case isn't just about a murder. It's about the everyday choices we make, the trust we place in technology, and the shadows that lurk when we least expect them. By the end of this, you'll know how Samantha's story didn't just end in tragedy. It sparked a law that bears her name, a desperate bid to stop this from happening again. So, grab a coffee, settle in, and let's rewind the clock to 2019. We're about to meet Samantha Josephson, a girl with everything to live for, and figure out how it all went so horribly wrong. All right, let's step back from that dark street corner for a minute and get to know the girl at the center of this mess, Samantha Josephson. She wasn't just some random college kid who stumbled into trouble. No, Samantha was the kind of person you'd root for, the kind who lit up a room and left you believing in the good stuff. Born on August 13th, 1997, in Brenton, New Jersey, she grew up in a tight-knit family. Mom and Dad were both sharp, educated folks who met in college, and she had an older sister, 2 years her senior, who probably rolled her eyes at Samantha's antics more than once. They were a happy crew, the kind of family that laughed a lot and stuck together. And Samantha, she was a spark, cheeky, playful, always up to some harmless mischief as a kid. Her friends called her Sammy, and you can bet she earned that nickname with her knack for making people smile. School was where Samantha really shined. She wasn't just smart, she was driven. She aced her classes at Robbinsville High, charming her teachers with that blend of brains and charisma. When it came time for college, she set her sights on the University of South Carolina, a big-name school in Columbia, and nailed the entrance exams. Political science was her game, but this wasn't about dry textbooks or boring lectures for her. Samantha had a fire in her belly. She wanted to change the world, one case at a time. Her dream? To be a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but a human rights crusader like Amal Clooney. Yeah, that Amal Clooney, the glamorous Brit who's argued big international cases and stood up for the little guy. Samantha idolized her, and you can see why. She wasn't chasing fame or money. She wanted justice, plain and simple. College life suited her perfectly. She threw herself into everything, classes, clubs, you name it. She joined Alpha Gamma Delta, a sorority all about leadership and giving back, and soaked up every chance to grow. One semester, she even jetted off to Barcelona as an exchange student, soaking in the culture and wandering Europe's cobblestone streets. Somewhere along the way, she saw things: poverty, unfairness, the kind of stuff that sticks with you. It only fueled her more. She'd come back to Columbia with her eyes wide open, ready to take on the world. By 2019, her senior year, she was on the cusp of something big. 2 top law schools, Rutgers and Drexel, came knocking with acceptance letters. Drexel even threw in a full-ride scholarship, and after some back and forth, That's where she decided to go. Her dad was over the moon when she called him up, practically bursting with pride. "My girl's going to be a lawyer," he probably bragged to anyone who'd listen. Then there was Greg, her boyfriend. He was a year ahead of her at USC, graduating in 2018 while she was still hitting the books. They met at a bar one night. Classic college story. Hit off over a couple drinks, and soon they were inseparable. Greg wasn't the academic type like Samantha. He skipped grad school and headed back to Marion, a small town 2 hours from Columbia, to start working. Distance didn't faze them, though. They were tight. Video calls every night, sweet texts, and weekend visits when Greg would drive down to see her. He was her rock, and she was his dreamer. When she told him about Drexel, he didn't just cheer her on. He started plotting a move to Philadelphia to be near her. They were that couple you bet on, the ones who'd make it through the long haul. By March 2019, Samantha's life was falling into place like a perfect puzzle. Graduation was 2 months away. Law school was locked in, and Greg was ready to follow her anywhere. She was 21, standing on the edge of everything she'd worked for, her future, so bright it almost hurt to look at. But here's the thing about puzzles. Sometimes a single piece goes missing and the whole picture falls apart. For Samantha, that piece went missing on March 28th, 2019, when she stepped out of the Bird Dog Bar in Columbia's 5 Points district. It was a spot every USC student knew, lively, loud, packed with bars and late-night vibes. She'd been there with friends, laughing and unwinding after a long week. Around 2 a.m., she called it a night, said her goodbyes, and pulled out her phone to call an Uber. A quick ride home, a few hours of sleep, nothing special, just another Friday night. Except it wasn't. What happened next was random. It wasn't an accident. Someone was watching, waiting, and when Samantha walked out alone, they saw their chance. That black Chevrolet wasn't just a car. It was a trap, and she didn't stand a chance. How do I know? Because less than 24 hours later, her body turned up 100 kilometers away, torn apart by a killer who didn't just want her dead. He wanted her erased. Who was he? And how did a night so ordinary spiral into something so savage? That's where we're headed next, straight into the chaos of March 29th, when the hunt for answers began. So here we are, March 28th, 2019, Columbia, South Carolina. Just past 2 a.m., Samantha Josephson's stepping out of the Bird Dog Bar in 5 Points, a buzzing strip of neon lights and college kids blowing off steam. She's had a few drinks, sure, but she's not stumbling, just tired, ready to crash after a long night with friends. She pulls out her phone, fires up the Uber app, and orders a ride. Simple plan. Get home, sleep it off, wake up to another day of chasing her dreams. Her boyfriend Greg's texting her from Marion, 2 hours away, keeping her company like always. Car's almost here, she types at 2:04 a.m. That's the last he hears from her. From there, the story stops being ordinary and starts getting bloody. Let's freeze that moment and look closer. 5 Points isn't some shady back alley. It's the heart of Columbia's nightlife, packed with students even at that hour. Samantha's standing on the curb, phone in hand, dressed in a red-orange top and black jeans. Easy to spot. She's alone now, her friend's still inside, but she's not worried. Why would she be? She's done this a dozen times. Except tonight. Something's off. Greg's watching her location. They share it, a habit from dating long distance. And he notices the car's not heading north toward her apartment. It's veering southeast, cutting through the city like it's got a different destination in mind. He calls her, texts her, nothing. By 2:30 a.m., her phone stops sharing his location altogether. That's when the pit in his stomach turns into panic. Fast forward to the morning of March 29th. Samantha's roommate wakes up, sees her bed empty, and figures she crashed somewhere else. Until Greg calls, frantic. "She's gone," he says, voice cracking. They start searching bars, friends' places, anywhere she might have ended up. Nothing. By 1:30 p.m., they can't wait anymore and call the cops. Now, here's where it gets real. Missing persons cases usually take 24 hours to kick into gear, but Columbia PD doesn't mess around. They're at her apartment within the hour, grilling her roommate about what she was wearing when she was last seen. They plaster a photo everywhere, red-orange top, black jeans, 21 years old, missing since 2 a.m. The city's buzzing, and someone's bound to have seen something in a place this busy. Sure enough, at 4 p.m., the tip comes in. Two hunters out in New Zion, a rural speck in Clarendon County, about 100 kilometers southeast of Columbia, stumble across a body off a back road. It's a young woman, dumped like trash, and when the cops roll up, they know it's her. Samantha Josephson, the girl with the law school dreams, is lying there cold and lifeless. The scene's a horror show. Over 120 stab wounds riddle her body, mostly to her head, neck, arms, and back. The coroner is scratching his head because the wounds aren't deep, not clean like a knife would make. They're jagged, paired up like some twisted double-bladed weapon tore into her. And the blood? Almost gone. A body her size should have 4 liters. They scraped together 20 milliliters. She bled out, slow and agonizing, over 10 to 20 minutes. Imagine that. Trapped, helpless, watching your life drip away in the dark. The cops are reeling. This isn't a bar fight gone wrong, or a robbery turned messy. This is personal, vicious, like the killer wanted to punish her. But why? And how'd she end up 100 kilometers from where she started? They backtrack to 5 points, pull every camera feed they can get. At 2:11 a.m., there she is, Samantha, waiting alone. A silver gray car pulls up. She steps forward, then backs off when it drives away. Wrong ride. 30 seconds later, 2:12 a.m., a black Chevrolet rolls in. She hops in, thinking it's her Uber, and that's it, gone into the night. The footage is grainy, no plate number, but the cops notice something chilling. That Chevy had been circling the block for a while, slow and deliberate, like a shark sniffing out prey. This wasn't random. Someone was hunting. Now, Greg's intel about the car's southeast route lines up. New Zion's that way. The Uber angle's their first lead. They call the company, track down the driver, a guy named Marcus. He's cooperative, says he got a request, but waited and never saw her. He canceled the ride and moved on. So what happened? Did she get snatched? Did she climb into a fake Uber? The cameras say she went willingly, no struggle, no one dragging her. That Chevy's a key, but it's a ghost. No clear ID, no trail past 5 points. The cops widen the net, combing every road out of Columbia, praying for a break. That break comes fast, too fast, almost. Less than 24 hours later, on March 30th, they spot that same black Chevy cruising 5 points again, bold as brass. They move in, and the driver bolts. It's a chase, short and sloppy, and they nab him, a 24-year-old named Nathaniel Rowland. He's got blood in his car, an iPhone that isn't his, and a story that doesn't add up. The hunters find the stab wounds, the circling Chevy. It's all pointing to him. But who is this guy? And how does a college girl's night out end with a monster like that behind the wheel? We're about to peel back the layers on Nathaniel Rowland and the mountain of evidence piling up against him. Buckle up. This is where it gets messy. All right, let's zero in on March 30th, 2019, just before dawn. Columbia PD's got their hands on Nathaniel Rowland, the guy behind the wheel of that black Chevrolet. He's 24, wiry, with a rap sheet that says trouble but nothing screaming psycho killer. Yet, they catch him cruising 5 points, not even a day after Samantha's body turns up, like he doesn't care who's watching. The cops block him in, lights flashing, and he floors it. Tires squealing, rookie mistake. He doesn't get far. They drag him out, cuffs on, and there's a woman in the passenger seat, wide-eyed, clueless about what's happening. Rowland's clamming up, muttering about shortness of breath, playing sick. The medics check him out. Surprise, he's fine. So, who is this guy and what's he hiding? They pop the Chevy's doors, and it's a crime scene on wheels. Blood stains the back seat, still tacky, and there's an iPhone gold and pink, not exactly Rowland style. They find weed, cleaning supplies, a white powdery mess that screams trouble. Forensics swoops in and it's jackpot. The blood Samantha's, DNA confirmed. There's a footprint on the rear window, like someone tried to kick their way out. Size and tread match her shoes. The child locks are on, meaning whoever was back there couldn't escape. Then there's a shopping list, duct tape, gloves, gas, a burner phone, Textbook cover your track stuff. Oh, and a bonus. An eviction notice from a woman named Maria, his girlfriend. This isn't looking good for Nate. Roland's got a story, though, and it's flimsy as hell. He tells the cops he was at a family party on March 28th, got drunk, crashed at a hotel. Next morning, he says he found his car full of blood, freaked out, and bought bleach to clean it up. Someone borrowed it, he claims. Won't say who, just shrugs and calls it private. The cops aren't buying it. Who leaves a car bloody and doesn't call the police? And why has he got Samantha's phone? They dig deeper. Phone records show his cell pinged alongside hers, leaving Columbia at 2 a.m. on the 29th, heading southeast on Highway 378, straight to New Zion, where her body was dumped. At 5:43 a.m., someone tries to hit an ATM with her card 9 times. Camera catches a guy, face covered, build matching Roland's. Later that day, he's at a pawn shop, hawking her iPhone. Coincidence? Please. Back to Maria. She's a wild card. She tells the cops Roland's her boyfriend, been together a while. That night, he didn't come home. She texted him, no reply. At 7 a.m., he's parked outside, acting weird. She hops in, spots blood in the back, asks what's up. Mind your business. He snaps. There's that iPhone too. He says he found it, offers it to her after a wipe. She's not into it. Later, she catches him scrubbing the car with bleach, tossing bloody clothes in the trash. Then she sees it, a double-bladed knife, crimson-stained, stashed in the Chevy. She keeps quiet, scared stiff, until the news hits about Samantha. When the cops knock, she spills everything. They fish that knife out of a dumpster near her place. 2 blades, matches the wounds, Samantha's blood all over it. Case closed? Not quite. Roland's no stranger to trouble. Born in 1994, South Carolina native, he was a high school basketball star. Coach loved him, but he went off the rails after that. No steady job, just drifting, picking up girls in 5 points, causing chaos. In 2018, he's tied to a kidnapping. 2 guys snatch a woman, rob her place, and Roland's caught selling the loot. That's still pending when Samantha crosses his path. He's a regular in that Chevy, prowling the bar scene, and on March 28th, he's got a plan. The cameras prove it. He's circling, waiting for someone like her, alone, trusting, perfect prey. The evidence is a slam dunk. Blood everywhere. Luminary lights up the back seat, like a crime lab Christmas tree. Her DNA's under his nails, on his clothes, in his trash, sheets, towels, gloves. All soaked red. New Zion's 3 kilometers from his place. He knows those woods. The prosecution's ready. First-degree murder, kidnapping, no bail. His family's crying foul, but the judge isn't moved. This guy's a menace, they say, and he's not walking free. But here's the kicker. Roland's not talking. No confession, no remorse. Just a blank stare. Did he know her? Was it rage, thrill, or something sicker? We're heading to court next, where the fight to nail him gets messy, and Samantha's legacy starts taking shape. July 20th, 2021, 2 years after that brutal night. We're in a Columbia courtroom, and Nathaniel Roland's in the hot seat. The prosecution's got 31 witnesses lined up, a mountain of evidence, and a story so tight it's practically gift-wrapped. They paint the picture. Samantha, lured into his Chevy, trapped by child locks, stabbed over 120 times with that freakish double-bladed knife, a weapon so odd the coroner can't even name it. Her blood's in his car, on his hands, in his trash. Phone pings, ATM footage, the pawn shop. It's a neon sign flashing guilty. Maria, his girlfriend, takes a stand, voice shaky but steady. She saw the blood, the knife, the cover-up. I was terrified, she says, but I couldn't stay silent. The jury's leaning in, and you can feel the weight of it all. Roland's defense? It's a scramble. They latch onto one gap. No DNA from him under Samantha's nails. She'd have fought, they argue. Where's his skin, his blood? The prosecution fires back. If the attack was fast and fierce, she might not have landed a scratch. Plus, her nails were clipped short, freshly cut, maybe by Roland to erase evidence. The defense pivots, dragging in family. His cousin swears he was drunk at a party all night. His dad says someone stole the car keys, left it bloody. Even the old basketball coach chimes in. Roland's a good kid. They say, wouldn't hurt a fly. It's a Hail Mary and it's flopping. The jury's not here for sob stories. They got DNA, a knife, and a car that screams murder. July 27th. After an hour of deliberation, it's over. Guilty. First-degree murder, kidnapping. The courtroom's buzzing as the judge drops the hammer. Life, no parole. Samantha's family exhales. Her dad's clutching a photo of her. Tears streaking down. Roland's mom begs. He's not a monster, but the judge isn't swayed. This is the worst I've seen, he says, voice like steel. Roland just sits there, stone cold, no flicker of regret. It's done, but it doesn't feel like a win. Samantha's gone, and no sentence brings her back. Her death rips through Columbia like a shockwave. USC's campus goes quiet. Students ditch the bars, scared to call rides. Her friends can't shake it. Greg's a wreck, saying, she was my everything. At her funeral, hundreds light candles, a sea of flickering grief. Her dad chokes out a eulogy. I'll never stop missing you. 2 months later, at USC's graduation, they leave her seat empty, draped with a cap and gown. What who are we? The grads shout. Samantha Josephson. It's a gut punch, a tribute to a girl who should have been there. But her parents, they're not done. They see a bigger fight. If she hadn't gotten in that car, her mom whispers. They launch a crusade, ride-share safety. Now, they start the What's My Name Foundation, pushing awareness, funding scholarships. They team up with lawmakers. And by June 2019, South Carolina passes Sammy's Law. Ride-share cars get labels, driver IDs, stiff penalties for fakes. New Jersey follows. And in 2023, Biden signs nationwide. Ask what's my name before you ride. It's Sammy's legacy, a shield for the next kid. Samantha's story ends, but it lingers. She was joy, ambition, a fighter snuffed out by a predator's blade. Her loss screams a warning. Tech's convenient, but it's not foolproof. Companies like Uber face heat. Where's the safety net? And us? We gotta stay sharp, because one wrong move can cost everything. Samantha Josephson's name lives on, not just in grief, but in a law that's saving lives. That's her mark, etched in blood and hope.